the never-ending marketing tweaks. They're usually just 3 core problems that show up again and again and again. And this is what the triangle, the 7-figure lifestyle practice triangle, helps us to do. Like the 3 sides of the triangle, and each represents something much deeper. Side 1 is a visibility issue, okay? People simply don't know you. The result that we want here is high quality new patients each and every week. Side number 2 is a trust issue, okay? We might think it's a retention, but really retention is a trust issue. What we want here is loyal long-term advocates. People might be meeting you, but they're not buying in, okay? And side 3, when we have no time, it's a leadership issue, okay? The practice is all being dependent on you for everything, and this is a leadership problem. Now, if you're being stuck in more than one of these areas, and often chiropractors are having challenges in all 3 of these, which one do you start with first? Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. Now, today's episode is going to be an important one because when it comes to growing a chiropractic practice, it can and very often does feel overwhelming, like there's 100 different things that you need to fix, change and master all at once. But here's the truth. It's not that complicated. There really are only 3 problems that you need to solve if you want to build a practice that gives you both the life and the impact that you dream about. Now, today, what I want to share with you is a really simple model, a model that I call the 7-figure lifestyle practice triangle. It's a bit of a mouthful as well. This triangle here will help you diagnose exactly where you're getting stuck and what you need to do about it as well. We're going to look at the 3 core problems that most chiropractors face, the outcomes that you really want instead, and then the clear pathways that will help to get you there. So whether you're feeling like you're working harder than ever, but you're still feeling stuck, or you're wondering why growth that you want simply isn't just happening yet, this episode will help to bring you a huge amount of clarity and, most importantly, give you a sense of hope. So let's dive in. Now, when I first started coaching chiropractors, I noticed something pretty quickly. Most of us are dealing with the same issues, just wearing different masks. So underneath the complexity of practice, the staffing issues, the dry spells, the cancellations, the never-ending marketing tweaks, they're usually just 3 core problems that show up again and again and again. And this is what the triangle, the 7-figure lifestyle practice triangle, helps us to do, okay? It simplifies all of the moving pieces of practice into just 3 areas. Each one of these has a clear destination and then a proven pathway to actually get there. Now, side 1 of the triangle, for those of you visual, let's imagine that we've got an equilateral triangle here. Side 1, the problem we're trying to solve here is that nobody knows this, okay? This is a visibility problem here. You're great at what you do, but you're the best kept secret in your town. Now, this was a big challenge for me early in practice, and it was a massive frustration. I would see other businesses and I would have, patients coming into me saying that they wanted to go and see a rheumatologist, a specialist somewhere there. And it was months, sometimes 3, 6, 9 months before they could get an appointment. And yet here I knew the incredibly important work that we were doing in our practice there too. And yet we didn't have a waiting list as well, okay? There are people in your community right now walking around with the problems that you could help, but they don't even know that you exist, or they certainly don't know that you could help these problems. Now, instead of nobody wanting us, what we want instead is a steady stream of high quality new patients every week, without having to rely on discounts, without having to be burnt out, without random bursts. Now, there are plenty of chiropractors that I deal with that have great new patient numbers, but they have to work really, really hard for them. They're through different forms of Facebook discount ads. The quality of those patients that aren't great, for them to find a good one, they need 10 patients to come in. 2/3 of those don't come and visit them. The third that are left over, they have to churn through those. And so maybe 1 out of those 10 ends up being the type of patient that they want. You still have a visibility problem as well. Now, if we want to get towards high quality new patients every week, there are 3 things that we need to do, okay? So the problem is nobody knows us. The solution that we want is high quality patients each and every week. The pathway to get there, 3 pathways, okay? The first is what I call a standout strategy. This is all about making it easy for people to see why you're different. Now, this is a key word here, different. It's not better, but different in a way that matters to the right person, okay? And now that's often where chiropractors get stuck. We don't want to sound like we're putting other chiropractors down in our community, and I get that. We're a wonderful tribe, and most of us don't like playing the comparison game. But here's the reframe, okay? You're not better than other chiropractors, but you're better for a certain type of person. There's someone in your community there that you are the best chiropractor for, okay? Now, there are people right now who would thrive under your specific approach, your technique, your energy, your philosophy, your way of listening and communicating, but they don't know that you exist yet. The standout strategy, and having a standout strategy, is about identifying that person and then being able to really clearly and confidently communicate why you're exactly who they have been looking for. Now, when you get this right, everything becomes a whole bunch easier. Now, I know most of you have heard to talk about niche beforehand, but the standout strategy is just a slight tweak on this. Who are you perfect for? When you do this, your content is going to connect. Your marketing will feel way less forced. You'll be stopped trying to speak with everybody, because usually, again, you've heard this before, when you're trying to speak with everybody, you end up speaking with nobody. When you get this right, your message becomes naturally attractive to the right person. This is where visibility starts to move into attraction, okay? And this all starts with clarity and all starts with a standout strategy. Now, once you've identified that, the next thing that you've got to do is you've got to tell the world, okay? And we do that through a broadcast engine. This is what allows people to see us consistently. Now, remember, it takes time to build relationships. At different times, we've worked our way through Google's 0 moment of truth, okay? Remember, particularly when we're looking at online, this is the amount of time that it takes for trust to build, for somebody to go from not knowing you all the way through to feeling confident enough to be making a buying decision. And for most of us, this doesn't take hours and it doesn't take weeks. It takes months. We need to make sure that we are building momentum with this. Now, again, we can do all of this without digital marketing. There are chiropractors that I work with that work really great on community-based marketing. They're a part of events. They're running corporate talks. They're showing up all the time. But what it means is there needs to be consistently showing up in front of the right type of people. And if you're not into social media, great. You don't have to use social media, but you have to find an avenue to put your message and you in front of these people and start to build that know, like, and trust. Now, the third pathway that leads to, high quality new patients each and every week is that we need to make sure that we have a reactivation blueprint. Now, whilst these are not new patients, reactivating our patients is important. Now, when you do a good job with your patients, doesn't mean that people aren't going to leave you, okay? But the reason that they leave you more times than not is they simply get distracted and they get busy. This happens all the time. I've told the story in the past and I'll reshare it again here. A number of years ago, Lauren and I were right into the habit of doing Bikram yoga. We'd go several times a week. We loved it. It was fabulous. The teacher was great. The community was fabulous. We had a holiday. We went over to gorgeous Italy. We were gone for 6 or 8 weeks. So the couple of weeks beforehand, we were too busy to go, and a couple of weeks after. So it turned out we were kind of 10, 11 weeks without going, and we completely got out of the habit of going. It wasn't that we didn't like Bikram yoga. We loved it. It wasn't that we didn't like the studio. We loved them. But we got out of the habit and we never went back. Now, I don't know for sure, but I bet if somebody from the studio had rung us and said, Lauren, Angus, we miss you guys. Can we book you back in for the Friday class? That's probably all it would have taken. Now, maybe they're having a conversation thinking, why aren't Lauren and Angus back? Did we do something wrong? They didn't do something wrong. We got distracted. And the same thing happens with our practice members all the time. They're busy. They're living busy lives. There's a lot going on nowadays and they get distracted. And that's why we need to be having a reactivation blueprint. Several different ways we can go this, from phone calls to emails to newsletters to, sending out actual letters to people. But either way, we need to have a predictable way of bringing people back in. These are the people that have already raised their hand and said that they know you, they like you and trust you. They're the easiest people to get back into care, but you need a system to do that, okay? So if you want to solve the problem that nobody knows you and the result that you want to have instead is high quality new patients, the 3 pathways to get there in that direction is you need a standout strategy, okay? You need a broadcast engine, and then you need a reactivation blueprint. Now, you might be facing this problem if you're putting lots of content out there and no one's responding. Maybe you feel like you're starting from scratch with new patients all the week. Maybe your referrals are flat, or maybe you're getting lots of patients, but they're really, really low quality, okay? So this side of the triangle is all about visibility. It's about being seen, and it's about going from the best kept secret to somebody in your community who they know, okay? It's getting you known. Now, the second side of the triangle, the second problem we've got to solve is that no one stays, okay? The second side here is all about retention. This is where people find you, but they don't stay. They drop off after a few visits. They never fully commit. And deep down, you feel like you're not building something stable. Now, While one adjustment is better than none and two is better than one, okay, we know that it takes a tremendous amount of time to unwind the built-up stress that happens on a nervous system. Our life is more full of physical, chemical, and emotional stresses nowadays than ever, okay? We are not going to see the deep, lasting results of chiropractic in anything less than, I think, 50 visits, okay? The same way we look after our family, we need to be caring for people regularly, and it takes a lot of adjustments to unwind it to begin with, okay? Now, instead of having people were dropping out of the care, what we want to be building is long-term loyal advocates, okay? These are people who not only stay for care, but they refer their families, they tell their friends, they stand up for you, okay? They're not silent about it. And we can build this if we really lay the foundations for trust, okay? Now, the pathways to get this, again, there's another 3 pathways, okay? The problem is no one stays. The solution we want is long-term advocates. The pathways to get there is a connection-based new patient consultation. This is all about building trust. The goal of your initial consultation is to have your practice members feel seen and heard and lay the foundation for trust, okay? Trust is built in the first moments, okay? And if we don't do it right, it's very hard to undo the opinions that people come up with. Now, when we've built trust in the initial consultation, the report of findings becomes effortless. And this is the second pathway, the effortless report of finding. This allows you to create buy-in without pushiness. Now, while we can have high-pressure scripts and we can force people into care, what happens with many of these high-pressure systems here is we end up with buyer's remorse. And so what you might find is that you might be getting people to visit 12 or even 24, maybe even 36, but the moment they can get out of it, they do, okay? And when there's pressure there, there's likely very few internal referrals, because if you push me into starting care, there's no way that I'm going to tell Lauren about you. There's no way I'm going to bring my kids along. And so the effortless report of findings can only happen after we've built trust on the initial consultation. Now, part of this too, the goal of the report of findings is not to get somebody to sign up for lifetime care, okay? Really, the goal of the report of findings, in my case, they're to get them through to visit 24, okay? Then the third pathway is we have our signature adjustment experience. This is where the magic happens, okay? This is the ongoing relationship. This is where we get to have them experience the benefit of how amazing an adjustment is. So they get to experience the life changes that happen from a nervous system that's working better. They get to connect with you emotionally. It gets you to build enormous amounts of trust, okay? So we build that loyal long-term advocates through a connection-based new patient visit, an effortless report of findings, and a signature adjustment experience. Now, you might be facing problems on this side of the triangle if your new patients aren't making it even to visit 12, or again, our goal here, our minimum goal, certainly for a practice that's vitalistic and nerve system first, there too, should be at the very least getting patients through to visit 50, okay? If you feel uncomfortable talking about care plans or talking about money, then you need help in this section through here. This is the side of the triangle that you need to work on. If you find yourself consistently trying to fix the retention problem with more marketing, okay, this is where you need to see. Now, again, often I'll be sitting down with chiropractors and coaching them, and they'll come to me thinking they have a marketing problem, and I'll soon find that they have, 5 or 6 new patients each and every week, and what they want is 10 new patients. In this situation, it's not more new patients, it's retention, okay? If you're getting 5 or 6 new patients each and every week, and your practice is not seeing, above 250, 300 people a week there too, it's a retention problem, not a new patient, okay? This isn't a marketing issue. It's a connection issue. Retention comes from experience, belief, and trust. Let's move on to the third side of the triangle. What's the third problem? The third problem we're trying to solve here is no time, okay? This is a time issue. This is where everything feels like it's a grind. You're adjusting all day, you're doing admin late at night, you're putting out fires. You're wondering why it still feels like you can barely hold it all together. Now, often chiropractors in this scenario, and I know I've been there, I'm seeing lots of great people. We've got lots of new patients. I'm earning fantastic money, but I'm friggin' exhausted, okay? This is a huge problem for many chiropractors. What they've done is they've bought themselves a really high-paying job. Now, what we want instead here is a self-managing practice, one that doesn't fall apart if we take a week off or 2 weeks off or 3 months off. heaven forbid as well. And where every decision at every hour is not on the back of you. This is where we build a phenomenal team, okay? So the problem is no time. The solution that we want is a self-managing practice. Now, the pathways that will get us there's 3 really important pathways. The first I call the CEO pathway. This is all about time management, and this is time management for us as chiropractors, okay? There are very specific times that we need to be spending time in the practice with us adjusting our patients, but you need to have time rhythms where you're not in the practice as well. Again, I talk about a Sunday night rhythm with community influencer members where they just sit down, okay? They prioritize outside of the practice. What are the 3 projects that they're working on? What things they need to do to move towards those as well, okay? You need to have a practice operating system. Now, the practice operating system is standard operating procedures that are written and followed, okay? And there's 2 parts to that, again, because many of you have a procedures manual, but it's in the cupboard somewhere or it's online and nobody ever looks at it. It's no good having a standard operating procedures if nobody is following. That's the practice operating system. Again, not just for your CAs, but for your chiropractors as well. Again, if you're a single chiropractor, you need to have a standard operating procedures for you. How do you go about your initial consultation? How do you go about the report of findings? How do you go about the key visits through the re-exams and progress exams? What are the key things that you need to do on each and every adjustment visit? Now, when you have all of this written down and followed, it makes it a whole bunch easier to bring somebody in as well, okay? Now, the final piece of this puzzle, the final pathway in here is what I call the chiropractic culture code. This is all about creating a team that's aligned, accountable, and enjoyable to work with, okay? The right culture here actually magnifies all your effort. It's no longer all about you. You've got a team with really clear job descriptions, key performance indicators as well. You've got regular progress exams. Everybody is aligned to win, but it's done in an environment that feels incredibly safe. It's not cold. It's not clinical. It's not all about the money. The team knows the mission. They know the values. They know the vision that you're going on. Now, you might be stuck on this side here if you don't have time to think, to plan, or to grow your business because you're always adjusting or reacting. If you find that you're hiring team member after team member, if you find that you're doing everything yourself, or if you're constantly the one that has to do all of the work, as I said before, this means that side 3 of the triangle is your issue that you need to correct. This side of the triangle here is all about you reclaiming your time, your headspace, and stepping into the leadership role, okay? Now, when you get this right, when you get to this 3rd side, there can be incredibly fast growth that happens in a practice, okay? I'm working with a practice at the moment there too that got rid of some toxic staff members, got their chiropractors aligned, and their growth has been almost rocket-like as well. Things take off very quickly when you get all of this sorted, okay? All right, so let's wrap all of this up. At its core, the triangle helps us to simplify what can often become incredibly complex, okay? Because when you step it back, you're not facing 97 different problems, you're facing 3, the 3 sides of the triangle, and each represents something much deeper. Side 1 is a visibility issue, okay? People simply don't know you. The result that we want here is high quality new patients each and every week. Side number 2 is a trust issue, okay? We might think it's a retention, but really retention is a trust issue. What we want here is loyal long-term advocates. People might be meeting you, but they're not buying in, okay? And side 3, when we have no time, it's a leadership issue, okay? The practice is all being dependent on you for everything, and this is a leadership problem. Now, if you're being stuck in more than one of these areas, and often chiropractors are having challenges in all 3 of these, which one do you start with first, okay? We start with the lowest number, okay? So you would start with side 1. Now, why do we do this too? We can't build trust with people who don't know you yet, okay? It's no good working on retention if you don't have a good flow of new patients, okay? And again, it's no good working on team and culture if you don't have patients sticking around us as well. So we start with the lower side. Now, again, you can't lead a team when there's no one to serve. So we begin with visibility, then we build into trust, and then we scale with leadership. That's the sequence. And that's what then creates aligned growth. It'll lead to more income, impact, and a greater level of enjoyment in practice as well. Now, in the next few episodes, I'm going to dive a little deeper into each side of the triangle as well. Next week, we'll start with side 1. We'll go into a little bit more depth in terms of how you can move from the best kept secret in town into becoming 5 mile famous. Until then, thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives. I look forward to seeing you back here next week. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.